we put a harness on every single dog. All of the dogs already had collars on, color-coded to the folder.
Yeah,
And they all had
organized.
tags. It was
The tags had the names on them. This never happens.
This never happens. And it really made our job so much easier. But we still harnessed all of them, put air tags on all of them, and microchipped all of them on site
while we were there,
and then put them in the kennel and loaded them up. So, right. Even the chief of police for Madrid sent me a message after we got him, and he said, "Congrats on catching the Madrid most wanted dog." Everyone in town was so invested in this. So
I thought he was gonna say like,
I told him, I said, "I've never spent so much time chasing a wiener in my life."
That's where I thought that was gonna go.
Oh my dog. Dog. Oh my dog.
Oh my dog, hey.
Oh my dog, hello.
We are back.
Back again.
We're gonna talk about we've been busy.
Oh my Lanta. So 2 weeks ago we talked about
this coming.
Right. Yeah. The Grundy Center grab and go is what we tagged it. We always like to name the large intakes something catchy.
Which I love because otherwise I forget.
Well, yeah, it
all blends together. Yeah.
Yep. So we did run up to Grundy Center last Friday.
Yes.
And we had anticipated 15 Yorkies, Shih Tzus, and Shorkies.
Which is a combination of the two.
And the morning of, the daughter of the breeder messaged me and said, "Hey, Mom was going through her records this morning and she must have lost track. She has another one. Would it be okay if we added him to the mix?" I was like, at this point,
it doesn't matter.
I don't give a shit.
Stack them up.
Give me what you got. And so we caravan up there, and it was me and Kara and Emily. Kara brought Emily because she has this like
a tricked out van,
incredible van that
it's got a vacuum cleaner inside.
And I told Kara, because she's like, "We need to get a van." I was like, if we get a van,
who's gonna drive
it? I'm so
like
anti-van for some reason, but I'm like, if we get a van, we are wrapping this thing. Like, it's gonna be sweet.
Oh, we could make it look like the van on Dumb and Dumber.
Okay.
Furry with the dog ears. And the leg that has to lift up with the gas.
Free puppies inside.
Well, no. Puppies inside for a small adoption fee, but they're fully vetted, so it's totally cool.
And then Natasha followed us up there as well, and then Mom and I came up too. So we had 3 vehicles, so plenty of kennels, plenty of space. And we got there, and there's like the mom and the breeder and her daughter, so mother-daughter combo, was sitting outside like getting all their stuff together, and there's this like pen of puppies, and I'm like, oh,
it was quite literally
dog.
A pile of fluffy, cute. We couldn't even do anything for like the first 10 minutes because we were just like, let us play with these puppies before we get to work.
I'm in danger.
That's what we walked up, and Holly goes, "I'm in danger," and I was like, they're gonna hear that and not understand what we're saying.
So yeah, were
that's
super
what we say
cute.
if something's too cute.
And that comes from a Simpsons episode.
The
nose picker sitting on the bus. I'm in danger. So they were super cute, and then we got started. Now, this breeder was very organized.
The most organized
I've
ever
seen.
Now, that's not to
like
say
this.
that they were completely up to date on everything, but if they weren't, we knew that they weren't, because she had records and photographs on a folder. She took a picture of the puppies when they were born, pasted on the front of a folder, and then had their lifetime worth of records in this folder and knew which dog was which. And she had handwritten notes for each dog.
Yes, and it was descriptive. Like, this dog likes to pick fights with this dog.
Yeah.
Or this dog likes to, sleep under its bed.
Yeah.
Very descriptive.
My favorite note of all, though, and you're going to die, but we were driving back, and first of all, this was Emily's first dog rescue mission, and we had gone to an iCubs game the night before, and my car was in the shop because it's in the shop more than I actually get to drive it. Do not buy a Land Rover, people. So,
well, there goes that sponsorship.
Yep. I don't want it. I'll take the stupid Cadillac. So anyhow, I'm bitching about my car, and I was like, yeah, we got to go get these 15 dogs, which turned into 17 dogs tomorrow. And I guess I'm just going to put a tarp down because I was driving a Volvo from the dealership, like that had like 3 miles on it. Like, I guess I bought a tarp from Amazon. I was like, I'm going to lay it down in the back of this car and we're going to roll. Like, I don't know what else to do.
What do they expect you to do?
So she calls me or texts me that morning, and she goes, I've been thinking about it all night. Do you need help today? And I was like, I go, oh, golly gee, yes. So she took all the seats out of her van, and we were ready. We could have put all of those dogs in that van.
You could have.
Yeah.
You could.
But we needed all the people because it stayed organized on our end.
It was and so my mom, a lifetime nurse, and this breeder has a touch of dementia, and she had recently had a knee injury or something. Anyway, I told Mom on the way up there, I was like, listen, you're going to be on...
You're the therapist.
Yes.
And that's what I told
Therapy
Doug,
patrol.
the guy from iDolls. What's his official title? Do we know?
He is the compliance officer.
So the compliance officer, when we got there, I said, I'm Kara because I hadn't gotten to meet him yet.
Right.
And then I said, and this is Holly's mom, and she's going to be the therapist. And his face just went like, oh my gosh. This is awesome. This is what I needed every one of these. He goes, thank you. Like, that's a really good idea.
Just to not necessarily keep them preoccupied, but also just to keep things low key.
It's just like
chill,
on the show Hoarders.
And my mom has never met a stranger in her life. She could have sat there and talked to her all day long.
She could have.
But
she was exactly what we needed.
So we got started. We put a harness on every single dog. All of the dogs already had collars on, color-coded to the folder.
Yeah,
and they all had tags.
The tags had the names on them. This never happens.
This never happens, and it really made our job so much easier. But we still harnessed all of them, put air tags on all of them, and microchipped all of them on site
while we were there,
and then put them in the kennel and loaded them up. Yep. So
it was awesome.
It went very smooth. I think... I'm not sure what we could have done any better.
No, it was a really great day. I mean, we took our time, which was nice because usually you're in such a hurry to get in there and get out, but we were able to just take our time.
And then we caravaned back to Des Moines. Mom and I pit stopped in Marshalltown to drop off 2 dogs to Mike and Linda, which have already been adopted. One of them has already been.
The other one,
the other one's pending. Already, yeah. But
and while we were driving back home, because I got to be passenger princess.
Passenger problem.
Yeah. On the way home, I took the stack of folders, and I literally scanned in every document, put it in the folder in our drive for every dog. So by the time we landed at my house, everybody had already been cataloged. They were already in our spreadsheet. We were good to go. And one of the things that I scanned in was those handwritten notes. And while we were driving, I was reading them out loud because they were kind of entertaining.
Funny, yeah.
And the one, we almost went off the road because we were laughing so hard. The one that hold on, let me find it. I can read the exact thing, but it was talking about this dog, right? And it's saying like, he's a very nice dog, but let me see.
Who was it?
I think it was.
There's always a but.
Yeah.
It's the one that Morgan has. Which one does she? She has Jack. So Jack. So Jack's note says, and I quote, Tucker, a nice male Shih Tzu. He has said the words mama and mom at times. Not fixed. He is a good dog. It's like a fucking haiku, but also, what? So
I told you there was a touch of dementia happening.
I was losing my mind. Emily is laughing so hard she's crying and trying to drive me and like 8 dogs in the back. Like we're peeing our pants. Well, the other night at Paws and Pines, Morgan has been fostering Tucker, who is now Jack Skellington because it was Friday the 13th, so we got some Halloween names. But she goes, actually, he does kind of say mom. Like, when you walk in the door, his, like, bark and his, like, yodel, it sounds like, mom.
That's creepy.
I know. I said that dog would be on the streets.
Oh, my God. And it was Friday the 13th, so
it was Friday the
honestly.
13th. Awesome day. But, like, oh, my God. I was dying at that. That was really funny. The other funny thing that happened before we jump into, like, who we all got was we had loaded up 16 of the 15 dogs we were supposed to have, and I'm talking to Doug. The breeder was in the house. And I'm talking to Doug, and I go, well, mark me as safe because the only dog that I've been waiting for is a tiny little female Yorkie. I had one that came in, and she passed away, and I've been sad ever since, and I really was hoping that there would be a little baby, not baby, but young, older female Yorkie that would come out of this. And all the dogs we got were quite big. Like, they were a lot larger. And so I turn around and go load up the van, and then your mom yells, Kara, and I go back, and she's holding a tiny female Yorkie. And I'm like, I spoke this into existence. I made this dog appear. So, anyway.
and then the lady, I don't know if Mom had anything to do with it, but she's like, well, do you think she could go along too? And we're like, yeah.
And Doug's like dying. He's like, what in the world did you do? He's like, you made that happen.
And I saw the little thing. I was like, oh, she's so cute. And I went to grab her from you. And you handed her to me, and she goes,
yeah, she didn't like you.
And I was like, well, that solves that problem. She's going home with you. Problem solved. Problem staying solved.
Save me from myself. Take this dog. And Holly takes her, and she all but jumps out of her arms. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well,
she was not having it.
I asked for this.
Oh man.
Yeah, so, that was funny.
It was a great day. I do continue to have questions about how this whole compliance thing works, because
we have some real questions about what happened.
And I think at some point I'm going to call Doug and ask if we could just have a sit-down meeting with him at his office in Des Moines and just say, we just want to understand entirely, because I think there's assumptions being made that X, Y, and Z is happening, and maybe it's not. Mm-hmm. And so we just want to make sure we are fully aware of what we are supporting and assisting with when we do these things. And going forward, Kara and I have talked about, if we do agree to assist in these situations, that we have some sort of
criteria.
Yeah, like if we're gonna do this, then we want to know that
they're done, or they're on their way out, or
like we want to do a walkthrough of the premises so we know what's really happening. Because leaving that place, we had never stepped foot in the premises.
Yeah, she
in
brought
the house.
the dogs out one by one, and the daughter said, "You can't go in there; it's really bad."
And I don't know what that means, because from the outside it looked very nice.
It's pretty well kept on the outside.
The
and
landscaping was
dogs
good.
No fleas, nothing. The dogs were in good shape.
They were groomed.
The only bad thing that happened that led me to believe that it was gross in there was when we got back home, one of the fosters sent me a picture. And this picture, oddly enough, was of a rat that had been vomited up by one of the 4-pound puppies.
Maybe a mouse.
It was a mouse, but it was big.
Right.
It was like the full size of the puppy.
I love it when they share pictures like that with us. And then you so graciously shared it with me.
She sent me 2, and I said, that's a mouse or a rat. That's a rodent. And I'm like, I'm sending this to Holly because I had to see it. You could see its tail and little feet and everything. It was so disgusting. And then the dog was acting mopey and not quite right. So we said, go ahead right away, do all the blood work, do, whatever you need to do. And then the blood levels were elevated for having some sort of exposure to rat poison. So we called the breeders.
Yeah, I called the daughter. Yeah. And I explained the situation. I was like, we need to know what
exactly
could have been adjusted so we can treat it properly. And she said, well, Mom did have some mice come in with the cooler weather coming on, and she had put these rodent traps.
Tomcat
stuff. I mean, I have it down at the lake, and it's in the box.
Yeah.
But I think what happened is the mouse ate the poison and then scurried off and died.
And then
the dog ate the dead mouse, because they're puppy. It was a puppy that ate it. So there's no way they're completely coordinated enough to track down a mouse. I mean, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah. So the luck had it that got a little car sick, came home, puked up the mouse, and after a couple days was acting completely normal, and we did another round of blood tests and tested out fine, and so safe to go to a new home. And in fact, he got adopted today.
Yeah.
But
so there's a lesson in there for everybody, all of our listeners. If you do have mice, which we all do, I mean,
I don't.
I put down. Well, maybe you do and you just don't know it. I don't know. But anyway.
I have two
Especially
basement
with
cats. I'm safe.
There you go. Cat's a great idea. I have a garage cat.
Yep.
Kills mice all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So just be careful when you're putting down poison.
Kids,
Obviously,
dogs,
make
all
sure
the
that
things.
your dogs can't get to it, and they have the little blocks that you can put in the case so the dogs can't get to it. But that still obviously doesn't
stop if the
stop
mouse
them
comes
from
back out.
eating a mouse that's poisoned. So it's death by proxy.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh,
So if you have poison down and your dog starts acting lethargic, immediately to the vet. No questions asked.
and make
no
sure
hesitation.
you have exactly the type of poison that you put down because
Right.
it matters. Apparently, some poisons you can give like a huge dose of a certain type of vitamin to help like thwart.
Right.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so that's why it mattered for us to check in with them to see, one, was there poison, and two, what kind was it? So, yeah. But anyway, that dog lucked out and is going to live a great life. So.
Now, one of the dogs that came in is pregnant.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
And
No.
we have her down as Holly Rose, which that's a whole nother story, but her name came as Ginger, and I think now technically it's Ginger Snap. Whatever. It doesn't matter. She's pregnant. She's due October 17th, so we are on pregnancy watch. I know in our last episode we had talked about aborting litters at
if
a certain...
it's super early on,
If it's super early on, but, again, if it's not, we handle it.
We gotta go. We got puppy
figure
life.
it out, and here we go again with another litter of puppies.
Truly terrible. I'd rather have 10-year-old dogs than a litter of puppies. And I know people love them and they line up for them, but dealing with the applications alone when it's time, let alone the commitment and time that it takes for a foster to have to raise those puppies, it's not for me.
And the risk to the mother.
Well, yeah, I had a pregnant mama that almost died because she was having a hard time with her pregnancy.
Well, Ginger's already acting goofy.
Yeah.
And we had to take her to the vet, and she's on some high-cal fancy dog food now, and what else did she get? They gave her fluids, IV fluids, and blah, blah, blah.
So we'll
it's
see.
just,
We don't even know if she's going to have healthy puppies, if she's going to be okay. Like, it's just a lot. Yeah.
So, and based on this breeder's records, I am confident in that date.
Yeah.
But you never know.
No.
I mean, she could go early.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Oh, yeah.
So there's 15. So we have taken in, since our last recording, 21, and 17 of those 21 were from Grundy Center. We also had Mary Puppins, which was a golden retriever that came in. Bugsy, Link Seagull is a long-haired dachshund that we took in that went on the run for a few days that we finally trapped in a coon trap.
So we put out 4 traps with food.
Finally, yeah.
Yeah, and it took it second night? Third day, second, yeah. He went in the smallest one that he barely fit in, and that's the one that trapped him.
Well, he's a fat little wiener is what he is.
He is a chunky ween. But the whole town of Madrid was looking for him, which is pretty cool. Because it's very different than when a dog goes missing in Des Moines. No one cares.
Right. Even the chief of police for Madrid sent me a message after we got him, and he said, "Congrats on catching the Madrid most wanted dog." Everyone in town was so invested in this. So.
I thought he was going to say, like,
I told him, I said, I've never spent so much time chasing a wiener in my life.
That's where I thought that was going to go.
Can I clip that for the intro?
Yes. Oh, shoot.
The only
else?
wiener that was worth it, too.
So that's 17, 18, 19. Jacqueline was the other.
The other Pomeranian.
The Pom.
Yeah.
And Bonita.
Yeah.
Was the Bonita and Jacqueline are the Poms. Bugsy was the Dachshund.
Yeah, and they came from another breeder
in northeast Iowa, Decorah, right?
Yeah, an Amish breeder, which it's noteworthy to say Amish breeder because it's a totally different caliber of what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And by caliber, we're not talking high.
We talked about the difference between breeders and puppy mills in our last full episode, which was 2 weeks ago, right? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
At some point we talked about it.
Yeah.
And Amish breeders are
the worst of the worst.
The worst of the worst. And you primarily see it in southeast Iowa.
Yes.
But there are some operations up in northeast Iowa. If you really dig into it, Pennsylvania is the worst,
Mecca
mecca of Amish dog breeding, and the conditions that those dogs are in is absolutely
It's horrible.
disgusting.
They don't retire out their dogs ever. Like, they just let them breed until they either die being pregnant or can't anymore, and then they get thrown into a bucket, which is exactly what happens.
Yep. And I mean, you can look up on, if you go to iDells and look at, if you just put in Kelowna, Iowa, that's another,
or the last
like,
name Yoder.
a mini mecca. I mean, my Reese girl, she came from
Yoder.
Yoder in southeast Iowa.
He got shut down later.
Yes.
He was the one that kept calling me asking if I would take his huskies.
And pay him for them.
And pay him for the huskies. And I kept saying, no, dude, quit calling me. I'm not paying you for your huskies.
Yeah.
And then he got in trouble by the state and shut down anyway.
Right. So, all of that to say, I do not support the Amish community at all whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't even care if
and I think they've got the world on a string. They've got them all, everybody just brainwashed into thinking that they're
quilts
pure
and breads and all the things that you can buy from them. No. If I freaking
you're supporting a puppy mill is what you're doing.
I love cinnamon rolls. I will not turn one away. But if I see that if we're going through that area, I'll like check to make sure like I'm not buying like a cinnamon roll that came from like an Amish bakery, and that is no crap. I will not support them because they all are in that area related to doing this. Like, it's an intense farming operation.
Down at the lake, they've got fry pies for sale everywhere. On Ragbri, they've got the fry pie stand. I mean, it's just...
What is a fry pie?
It's like a pastry, like a Hot Pocket, but fruit.
It's like what you get at McDonald's.
Yeah.
But like
Amish. Apple or
got it.
Cherry or whatever.
I wouldn't
and
buy
then
that anyway.
Glaze it. It's delicious.
I don't believe in hot fruits.
So yeah, but the Poms, I mean, this dachshund is fat, so
but cute.
There's that.
And the Pomeranians are beautiful.
Yeah. He was hard to catch, so.
Yeah, he was. Slippery wiener.
We did adopt out 14 dogs, so we are at a bit of a deficit, but.
Can we shout from the heavens? Like, Melon got adopted.
Oh, Jesus.
Smelly Melly.
Finally.
Schmelin Melon.
He didn't bite somebody that came to
He loves
see him.
He loves his new mom. In fact, she was so adamant about that it was going to work out and that she was going to love him. And I was like, I don't even know like what I'm doing here, but I'm like, I just trust you and I know this is going to work. And I was like, do you want to adopt him? And they're both like, yeah. And I'm like, they hadn't even gotten to touch him yet. You know what I mean? I was like, okay. And he has this big, beautiful yard with shade trees, and he was just bopping around, like, doing the patrol. He's got another Chihuahua there that's, like, an older boy. That's his friend. And he's doing awesome. He does zoomies. When he sees his new mom, he does his tippy-tappies. Like, he's really happy. And this was the dog, if you'll recall, if you listen every time.
I was going to say, I was going to give a recap on...
Yeah.
Excuse me. Oh my gosh.
What is wrong with us? We're really hacky today. We're just trying to get our money's worth with this editing.
So Melon, it just says shelter transfer. I was going to look up exactly where he came from.
I know exactly where he came from. He came from the Kansas shelter. He was on the euthanasia list because he was alone in a kennel and he was trying to bite everybody that came in, so they had him on a behavioral euthanasia. And our friends Kelly and Craig said, hey, here's a little spicy one. What do you think? And I said, send him on down.
Well, he definitely lived up to that.
He was horrible.
So he started out with Morgan, and Morgan adopted him out to these people in Nevada, right? Nevada.
Yeah.
And
they did everything wrong.
They turned out to be
real pieces of work.
Nightmares.
Awful.
I had to go get him like at a moment's notice. They're like, we can't do it anymore. I'm like, leave him alone.
Just leave him alone for a couple days. But the first night they got him, they left his leash on his harness, which he doesn't
tethered him
to a crate. So he was freaking out trying to like get away from the crate, and he was tethered, and the crate was making noise. The crate's following him. He's freaking out. They can't get anywhere near him because he's trying to bite them because he's terrified. And it just goes on and on.
That was the lady that had rescued 400 dogs.
She said she had rescued 400 dogs in her lifetime and fostered 400 animals, and this is the worst she'd ever seen.
Never
One
seen anything
day
like
in our
it.
house, and he's given my daughter kisses on the face. So come on.
Now, when I did go pick him up,
he
brought
spicy.
him home. He was very spicy. He went through a welding glove.
Yeah.
But, he was stressed out
So
to the max.
stressed.
He was just untouchable. But Cam did her dog
It
whisper
was one
shit,
day.
and she had him all buttoned up. But he's continued to be a spicy little asshole for how long?
Yeah.
I mean, he's
He
been
never-
with you for, 6 weeks?
Yeah, but he was never, after Cam picked him up that day, he was never naughty or mean to us. He didn't really care for Marcus, and he would...
More than that.
Yeah. He
He's
would
been
bark
away
at
for 2.5
Marcus, except
months.
for the last week before he left. He decided that Marcus was okay, and he let him pet him for like 20 minutes, just petting him. And then after that, he was like, oh, okay, you're cool. So it did take him longer to like him, but he was the friendliest little dog after he like broke his like fear.
Right.
And he broke the fear with them at his new house within 24 hours. I told them, like, if you want to have him running around in the yard with his new friend and you need me to come over here so you can get him back inside to go to bed, let me know. Nope. He was like, no, I live here now. He went inside. No problem. They opened up the door. He came back in from the yard, slept on the ground. She sends me pictures about every day. He's been snuggling with his new brother. And they have to go to a wedding out of state end of next week, so we're gonna watch him because
Perfect.
so it'll
Well,
be
he's
good.
probably gonna be spicy when he comes back, thinking he's not.
He didn't know who Morgan was when she came over to our house a few days after he got returned. He had no clue who she was. So, but it'll be good for him to start like learn that adjustment and like remember people and stuff. I think he'll be fine. But
yeah, it'll be fine.
Anyway, that was a huge deal.
Very big deal. Another one I want to call out is Archie. Because
Lumpy bumpy. The worst luck ever.
Ginny has gone through applicant hell with Archie. No fault of Archie's at all. He's a sweet old fat lab,
and he's lovely, but he looks like a lumpy bumpy mountain range.
And so Ginny had multiple applications, and they either ghosted her or they changed their mind,
or they'd say,
they
"Yeah,
adopted
I
another
want to
dog.
adopt him," and then they just never respond.
Right?
Like, what the hell, people?
And I got a call on the bat phone from a lady, an applicant, several weeks ago, and she was all excited about
Gung-ho.
it. She had fallen in love with this picture on Pet Finder, and this was it. This was the dog. She had a lab before. They wanted a senior lab. I'm like, perfect. Let me put you in touch with the foster. They worked it all out. And then she called on the bat phone again, and they decided against it because he had these lumps and bumps.
So,
And I said, if it would make a difference, if that's your only concern, if it would make a difference, I will send him to the vet and
clear him.
Get a blood panel
Make sure
done.
there's no cancer.
We can
nothing.
do biopsies.
It was just a bunch of little lipomas.
He's just old. It's just the lumps
He's an
and bumps
11-year-old giant 100-pound lab.
Anyway, and I'm not going to completely back this applicant up, but she did have a lab that died suddenly.
Yeah.
Due to unknown causes.
Yeah.
Like, it just stopped eating and went lethargic.
But also
and
probably
just died.
don't look on Pet Finder for another senior lab if that's not what you're ready
But
to
they didn't
deal
have.
with.
It wasn't it was like a 1-year-old that this happened
she
to.
didn't
So
do
it's
it
like
because of that.
no, I know, but so I tried to work it out, but I wasn't gonna.
You don't want to force
I'm not gonna
anybody.
convince you to adopt this dog.
No.
Either you want to or you don't. But if your only concern is the medical, I can't address that.
Yep.
And we did.
Yeah.
And then there was nothing.
Yeah,
and we sent
took him
that panel
back,
to her.
And the vet wrote a note that
Right.
said he's completely healthy. Everything looks good. None of the bumps are cancerous. I have no concerns. He's had a full workup. He's good to go.
And she still didn't want him. So, and I even told her on the phone. I said, if that is your only concern, I will do this. But if that's not your only concern, then I'm not going to put him through like taking him to the vet and going through all of it. And she's like, well, I'm like, all right, we'll send him. And it still didn't make a difference. So
no.
Lesson learned.
But now his new mom, who was very excited and remained excited,
right?
She got that information, so that was nice for her to have a little,
of course,
full workup. Yeah. So we like to do that when we can. But
yeah. So money well spent.
Yes.
Anyway.
And then we had, I know we mentioned Leia, who was returned for not liking.
This was Allie's first foster.
And Allie's first foster, who's been such a huge supporter of us. And we'll get to see her tomorrow. I'm excited, but
she's going to be at the Barker
I have to assume.
Well, I would think so.
Yeah. So
she was there last year. Remember, her and her sister.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we hope we get to see her. But anyhow, she spent a lot of time working with Leia because she did need some training, still very much puppy, and found her a wonderful home.
I knew that Allie would be a great foster because she's very diligent
and thorough.
Very thorough. To the point where I was like, maybe you're taking it a little far. But I'm going to tell you something. You really can't take it too far.
No, she did everything.
Sometimes I think some of our fosters don't take it far enough.
Well,
and we're gonna put together some checklists. Like, have you checked like Iowa courts online to make sure they're not?
My goodness, but honestly,
dog abuse charges or something.
Yeah, I had a foster though that adopted out a dog, and they had multiple visits. Like, they did a really good job of taking care of the dog in foster. They did a really good job of making sure behaviorally the dog was ready to go into the home, that the home was the right place. They did lots of visits. Then the adoption was completed, and they forgot to do the contract. I'm like, what?
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So then I had to, like, intervene and be like,
right,
hey, guys, sorry, we need to do this contract. So we sent it over, and it's fine. But, like,
that's the one thing. Like you
have
one
job. The only thing you have to do is fill out the contract and leave the dog behind.
Contract, payment, photo.
Yeah, like there's 3 steps. Like, and she didn't get a photo either. So I don't know what happened.
Gosh. Well, it's exciting, the adrenaline and everything.
Sometimes I almost forget the photo because I'm so excited to like see them with the dog. But anyway.
So
it's all a learning process.
Yeah. So those are the highlights of the 14 that got adopted out. Of course, some of the Grundy Center 17 have already gone.
Like 6 on the way here.
Yeah. Today was a big adoption day.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we used to have, just by chance, we would have 2 adoptions on the same day? And we were like, double adoption day.
Like a double rainbow.
That like happens every weekend now.
Yeah, every weekend. Every Friday or Saturday we get a double adoption day. At least, if not a quadruple or whatever.
So with this group that came in, like we said, there were Yorkies, Shih Tzus, and then the Shorkie, the mix of the two. So this week on our featured breed, we wanted to go over the Yorkie.
Because we've both had Yorkies.
That's what I started with.
In our lifetime. Yeah. Well, that was my first dog. I think I mentioned this when we were talking about it before, but I received my first Yorkie as a tip waitressing when I was 17 years old.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
You got a dog as a tip?
Listen, the story's even crazier than that.
Better than any 20% I ever got.
Right? I worked at this little junkie cafe, which had the best food ever, called the Jots, for just off the square. Very clever.
Clever.
Ma and Pa little restaurant, and I made $2 an hour waitressing, and then we got tips, which were like 50 cents dropped into our little cup. Like, we made no money.
Right.
So, of course, they had all the high school kids working there, but this was the year that I was set to go to college. So it was my senior year in high school. And there was a newspaper. Back then, we looked in the newspaper, and I always cracked it open to the classified section where the dogs were. Because up until this point in my life, at 17 years old, I had never had a dog indoors. No dog had ever stepped foot inside of my home because I grew up on a farm, and that was frowned upon. We didn't do that. So I desperately wanted a little dog, and I thought, this is my chance. Going off to college, I'm going to get a little dog, and so I'm looking through the ads, and I'm saying, oh, I would like that, I'd like that, and then there was a Yorkie, and I go, oh, I always wanted a Yorkie. I really would love to have a Yorkie, and I'm looking at the newspaper ad, and I'm talking about it like I do, and this guy behind me goes, hey! And I'm like, what? I'm like, do you need anything? You need more coffee, or what's going on? And because they were like the last kind of lingering customers, So we're wrapping silverware and
like, bro,
talking about Yorkie is like, get out of here. And he goes, hey, you know where I stay? And I'm like, what? And he's like, do you know where I stay? And I was like, I don't know what you're saying. And he said, I own the motel in town. Yes, there's a motel in Rockwell City, Iowa. I
bet it's lovely.
It's a motel. It's lovely. It's called the Green Acres. And outside of the Green Acres, he had like a big RV set up, and that's where he lived. And then he ran the hotel at the time. And he said, meet me at my RV behind the hotel after you get off work.
And she's like, okay.
And I was like, what for? And he's like, well, I want you to meet my dog. He's like, if you think you want a Yorkie, I want you to meet my dog. And the dog's name was Fritz. And I, with no questions, all by myself, at 17 years old, got in my 2-seater little Grand Prix, bopped over there.
Yep.
Pulled up to the RV. he opens the door, and in his hand is the most perfect little Yorkie I have ever seen in my entire life. He's so precious. And he goes, I'm never home. I can't take care of him very much. Do you want to have him? And I was like,
yes.
But I had not thought ahead as to what I was going to do with this dog because I was 17 and it was my summer after my senior year. And I was living with my dad who, 2 rules. No animals in the house, and I won't bend down to pet a dog.
Okay.
So I walk in the house with this little Yorkie. I had stopped at the grocery store because there was nowhere else in Rockwell City. I had to go to the grocery store.
Probably got kibbles and bits.
Yeah, I got like the little bag of food that they had.
Yeah.
I tote him home. I open up the door. I set him down. And Fritz, who then on the way home, decided I didn't like the name Fritz, so I changed his name to Freddie.
Original.
Very. I'd never had a
I'm
dog
glad your
like
naming
this.
skills have improved.
Well, his name didn't stay Freddie, but he skittered through the door, and my dad goes, what the hell is that? And I'm like, it's our new dog. And he's like, take it back. I said, I can't. I'm like, I got it as a tip today. And he's like, what? And this was around the time where my parents had just gotten a divorce. My dad was in kind of a bad place. He was living on his own. I was staying with him. My brother was living with my mom. And Dad was just not in a spot where his normal hell no stood. He was just kind of soft.
He was a little softy.
In that moment.
Yeah.
So, brought him in.
You really took advantage of that,
I
didn't
didn't
you?
mean to.
Oh, sure.
No, I didn't. So, I spent that summer. That dog rode on the motorcycle with me. We went camping. Yes, I've been camping. I went with that dog. We went camping. I stayed in a tent.
Wow.
Yep.
It's like a whole different person.
Yeah. And I fell madly in love. Then summer ended, and I had to go to school. But I was living in the dorm, so I couldn't take him with me. By this time, Freddie...
You really didn't think this through,
No,
did
I
you?
did not. I haven't thought much... I tell you, I haven't thought much through in my life more than 10 minutes ahead of time, ever. So, I tell my dad, I said, Dad... And at this point, Dad has started to kind of bond with the dog, but has not shown me it. Like, he won't let me know. But I could tell they kind of liked each other, and my dad was really having a hard time, so I thought, well, if he has this friend, it was just him when I left, then that might be kind of nice. I'm, justifying in my head leaving a dog behind with my dad. So, I left him behind. I came back from my first break as soon as I could because I couldn't wait to go back and see my dog. That dog no longer gave any shits about me. He was best friends with my dad. He sat next to him in the armchair. They watched NASCAR together, and his name had been changed to Beach Doggy. They lived on a lake, and he liked to go down on the beach. Beach Doggy.
Okay.
And my dad was so gruff with how he talked to him, but it was so loving. And he had this, little dog bed that went underneath the coffee table, and he would say, if, somebody was coming over or he wanted to get him out of the way, he'd say, Doggy, go to your hole. And he would go into this hole underneath the coffee table where his dog bed was. But otherwise, he was always in his lap. Every time I'd come over there, they're sitting in the chair and Doggy's right there next to him. And he had that dog for 10 more years after that. He lived to be well into his teens. And from there, I fell in love with dogs, little dogs, Yorkies, and got to see my dad kind of melt and become, for a small moment in his life, a dog person.
Well, he's about to do it again here real soon.
I'm going to try.
TBD.
TBD. We'll see if I have a really happy ending to that story. But anyway, that was a long-winded tale, but that's how I got my very first dog of my own.
I had just gotten divorced, and I had always been told that I couldn't have a Yorkie. Now, if anybody listening knows me now,
you can't be told anything.
That was obviously another version of me that no longer exists in any shape or form. But anyway, so I just got divorced. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting a Yorkie. This is happening. Mm-hmm. And that's when I got Stella off of Craigslist, which I've already talked about that. But so, yeah, Yorkies are
little life-changing
how
dogs.
ironic that you and I are first dogs, and they both came from
just,
shit
they were
situations.
Basically rescue dogs,
and
we didn't even
before
know what
we
we were
even knew
doing.
it.
We had no idea.
So, doing the breed...
we're going to focus on a little more about Yorkies in case you're interested in the breed.
Yeah. So, this is interesting, and I did know this before, and you did too, that Yorkies were originally bred to be mouse and rat
They were
control
ratters, yeah.
for mills and mines
Yep.
in England. And
They're a terrier. They're a working breed dog.
they have a huge prey drive, natural prey drive. And then the smaller ones, they kept breeding them smaller and smaller and smaller, and then that became
more of a companion.
a lady would carry it around, and it became a status,
a Victorian Paris Hilton
icon
situation.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, their temperament, a Yorkie, is going to be a high energy, typically, as long as they don't become overweight, which is
it happens.
It's a common thing with Yorkies.
Okay.
They can be affectionate. They're bossy. They have a lot of attitude. But they are eager to please their owners.
They're very adaptable.
And they can be very affectionate.
Yeah. I see a lot of older folks having a Yorkie that they love and that just kind of is with them all the time and matches their energy. They're energy matchers,
yes.
I would say.
Now, Yorkies have gotten a bad rap about being a yappy little ankle biter. But that is a behavior that if you correct it properly, Yorkies don't respond to harsh correction.
No.
They respond to
positive reinforcement training.
An owner saying or exhibiting like, I don't like that, don't do that. And they're not, it's an eager to please situation.
Yes. Yeah.
They are expected to live 11 to 15 years, depending.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a wide range, but I've seen them older than that.
Oh, yeah. I think Doggy, was close to 18, when he died. So, yeah, they live a long time.
Yep. They're a small breed, 7 to 8 inches high. AKC standards is 7 pounds, but depending on the type of Yorkie, because there's lots of different terriers, right?
Yes.
Different types of terriers.
And the Silky Terrier is a very close and direct derivative of the creation of the Yorkshire Terrier, and the Silky Terrier is a little more big-boned.
9 pounds for that one.
So the combination of the two, they're bred for their coat. The Silky Terrier has a little more desirable coat than the Yorkie. It can be kind of stringy, and so they'll kind of crossbreed those two dogs. And so you might see a Yorkie like the ones that we rescued recently that are closer to that 12 to 14 pound size.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was any reasoning behind the coat. I mean, why would that? What?
For its original breeding.
For its original
What
purpose.
I have to imagine is it started out as a working dog. Kind of what I was reading. It started out as a working dog, but then the popularity grew for the British upper class. So I have to assume at that point it started being bred more for its beauty.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So a show quality Yorkie.
I know. We were talking about this earlier. All the way to the ground and then some.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It flops. It's a middle part all the way down. They have a bow in the front, which I love, but I don't care for the really all the way long coat. I like a little more rough.
Like you can't even see their legs long coat.
Yeah, it's like a full skirt all the way.
It's like a mop just floating across the floor.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the maintenance on that has to be wild.
Jesus. I always cut mine cut short.
Yeah, same.
For exercise, they need moderate exercise, nothing crazy. A walk a day, steady pace, short bursts of activity like throwing a ball across the yard for a couple 10, 15 minutes is fine. Yorkies can be trained for agility and obedience. They are very intelligent, an intelligent breed, so they're capable.
Fast, and the itsy bitsy ones. Breeders now, they breed what they call a teacup version of these dogs, right? Which, first of all, teacup is not a breed standard for any breed. There are toy dogs.
It's a description. It's a descriptive.
Yeah. There are toy dogs, and some of them are smaller. However, the ones that are kind of under that 5 pound mark have so many health issues. I love them. I love the little itsy bitsies. Yep. They're so sweet and cute, but they are very fragile, where the Yorkshire Terrier itself was bred to be pretty sturdy. So that kind of larger size is
I had a Yorkshire Terrier and a Silky Terrier, and they were both very small. Yeah. I'm talking like 5.5 pounds.
Yeah.
And they both succumbed to, I'm almost positive that Stella had heart failure.
Common like Chihuahuas, that'll be like one of the illnesses you'll see is because when they're bred that small,
they just can't take it.
Yeah.
A cold for them is a death sentence. So
yeah, can be when they're older for sure.
As far as their grooming needs, they are a hypoallergenic dog, so good for anybody that has allergies.
However, that grooming bill for that tiny dog is expensive.
Yeah.
Unless you're like Holly and you got that
They get a
Flowbee thing.
They get a 6mm guard and all the way around. That's it. Sorry. I got too many dogs for that shit.
Yeah.
So they have a silky coat, combing and brushing. If you're going to keep the coat long, comb, brush every day to get real
Probably
knotty
like
and tangled.
3 times a day.
Yep.
Man, that's crazy.
They did say a bath once a week. I don't know if anybody does that, but whatever.
They do have a more oily. So Yorkies have hair instead of fur, which is what makes them hypoallergenic. Or
they have hair like we do.
Yeah. So they get natural oils in their coat, so they can have skin issues if you don't keep their skin clean, because those oils are something that's very different than what you would see in like a Bichon or something like that.
And they are prone to ear infections because of that.
Yeah.
So keeping their ears clear and clean, you are a dream at pulling those things out. I can't do it.
I like it.
I can watch it. I just can't do it myself. So keeping their clean.
Yeah.
The hair can get into their eyes and irritate their eyes,
Yep.
causing goobers and eye infections. So keeping that trimmed up around their eyes or pulled back into a top knot is
I just bought
advised.
100-pack of
Shut
bows.
up.
Yeah. I bought 100-pack of bows just because I never know when I'm going to need them. And also, Boop likes to have a different bow every time someone sees her.
I'm sure she gives 100 shits about that.
She likes it.
Yorkies are prone to a luxating patella, which is
common for little dogs.
A dislocated kneecap is essentially what that is. So when you do a wellness exam, a vet does a wellness exam, you'll see them kind of grab their leg and twist it and rotate it to see
if they can feel it
if it
popping out of
knocks.
place. Yeah.
If it knocks out of place. So very common. As long as you're not, don't let a dog with a luxating patella jump off of a couch or down a flight of stairs.
Right.
Like they'll be fine. Lady and Stella both had luxating patellas.
Oh yeah,
they were fine with it.
One of my Chihuahuas has horrible ones, and he'll just be like running along, and one will pop out, and he'll literally just be like, whoop, and put it back in. Like he's just used to it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's bad enough though that you do have to do a surgical intervention so that they can move around if it's both sides.
Or they can go on Vetprofen, which is not ideally a long-term solution, but it can be. Dallas has been on Vetprofen for
as long as you're doing
years.
blood tests to make sure that they're not having issues is good. The one thing that I found while we were researching is the name of the very first Yorkshire Terrier that was bred, which was in 1865.
Wow.
And he was kind of the stud dog who has all of the lineage of all the Yorkshire Terriers that we see today. And his name was Huddersfield Ben.
Terrible name.
I know. Ben.
Speaking of iconic dogs, Oni is. Do you know who Oni is?
No.
He's the postal dog.
Oh, what is he?
We should do an episode on him.
Well, yeah.
He was a terrier.
Yeah.
Not a Yorkshire
Oni.
Terrier, but he was a terrier.
Yeah, we should.
They made they made a stamp with him on it.
Famous dogs in America or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, just like a little
Yeah,
feature.
like a lady, or what's the sheepdog? Aussie. The Aussie dog. The sheep. The.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sure I do, but I can't.
I think her name was Lady.
Lady.
No, you know what I'm talking about.
No.
The what is that dog? The movie with the movie.
Lassie?
Lassie. That's
Oh,
it.
that's why I don't know what you're talking about. Good gravy. Jeez. And it wasn't an Aussie, it was a collie.
Whatever. Jesus.
Lassie the collie.
Kill me.
Well, I wasn't going to get I don't know how I got there from that.
You know what I'm talking about.
You could have just said, like, Timmy in the Well, and I would have gotten it quicker.
There's only so many dog movies.
There should be more. Yeah.
Okay, so Yorkies are good for watchdogs, obviously.
They'll tell
They're
you when the
on
mailman's
alert.
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And rodent control. So Stanley is 50% Yorkie and 50% everything else. And it shines through every day. He is zooming out to the farthest end of the yard, chasing squirrels and barking at possums, and he'll fly out at 2:00 in the morning after a coon. He just is all over rodent patrol. So they're good for that. They are a good dog for seniors.
That
and
energy
by that
match.
mean elderly people.
Yeah.
It's a nice little lap dog. Doesn't
Yeah.
require a ton of exercise,
Yep.
and they are, they require a certain amount of care and attention.
Yep.
Not good for families with infants or toddlers, and that's a
subjective thing,
subjective.
Right? So
yeah.
some families with little
you wouldn't
kids,
want to pair like a 1-year-old Yorkie with an infant.
No.
And I probably wouldn't pair a 15-year-old Yorkie with an infant.
No, they're breakable. I mean,
they're breakable and they're reactive.
They
so
will, if
a toddler, having not been yet trained,
on how
for lack of a better word, on how
act.
to act with dogs, might walk up to a Yorkie and pull on it or reach for it, and a Yorkie is going to like freak out. And
Yep.
perchance react negatively.
Yep. Yep. So just and the jumping off of things and dropping them, like little kids will pick up a dog and then drop it, and
sure,
broken limbs, that kind of thing. I always worry about when we get the little tiny ones. I make sure they're not going to a house with kids or soon to be little kids, just because you see that, or they get shut in the door or whatever. So anyhow, but yeah, it's a breed that Holly and I both love very much, but and we were excited to be able to go rescue quite a few of them and the combos of Yorkies. So that was a fun
I always
week.
hate it when people are like, oh, they're yappy little ankle biters. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, that's pretty broad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Chihuahuas.
Yeah.
Any dog can be yappy little ankle biter.
But also that pisses me off for Chihuahuas too, because I have Chihuahuas and only one of them is like that out of the whole crew, and it's because his sister coddled him and made him that way.
Yeah,
it's
people. All about how they're brought up, just like kids.
Yep.
So on our next episode, we just a little peek preview. We did a interview with our friend Nadia, and we talk about the barn hunt, which, if you're not familiar, it involves dogs like Yorkies
and rats. And that we'll leave it at that, because you gotta listen. You gotta listen to hear more about what that means.
But if you would like to ever rent a rat, you
can
find out how to do that in our next episode for just a mere $30 a week. And this is where Holly goes off and starts her rat business.
Yeah, we really went down a rat hole on that episode.
Dun-dun-dun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think we've done all we can here, folks, but
I think Yorkies are great. And the ones that came in on this group have been great too.
Yeah.
I mean,
they had the opportunity to live in a home, which is nice when we're getting a breeder release, that not all dogs have been handled as much as these were. So while they were all scared and skittish at first, they're all coming around and doing quite well with their new foster homes. And that 333 time has been made a lot quicker because they didn't come from your standard puppy mill situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We don't necessarily have a featured foster this week.
Yeah.
We kind of.
It's been wild.
It's been a while, 2 weeks. But I will say, I am, and I know Kara is too. We are so proud of the Mutt Mafia and the team of fosters that we have.
We have 17 dogs come in, and we had everybody just raise their hands and no questions asked. New people,
and our people are recruiting new people,
and they're training them.
We got Carrie on that's handling, hand holding, which has been a blessing. We've got Courtney forwarding all applications and helping vet applications.
Them on.
Right.
We had a foster who was struggling with not sure how to reach out to the applicants and how to set up the meet and greet, and Courtney said, I'll help you. I'll reach out and we'll do this together, So she's really going above and beyond.
Yep. And we've got fosters in the group chat, the more well-versed fosters helping the newbie answer questions, even though most of the questions are covered in the manual. Read the manual, read the manual, read the manual.
Although Courtney had a good idea of something that's not in the manual that we need to add, and I thought she could help us write the questions. but what to ask when you call for the vet reference.
Ah.
Because we didn't outline that.
That's
and so it's
Well,
always
it's all
grow.
just was second nature to us at that point.
I
but
know.
yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing we should add.
I don't put a ton of weight on the vet reference. I
just
mean,
make sure that they keep their dogs up to date.
Has this person ever brought a dog in for euthanasia?
When it shouldn't have, or like,
you know,
would you adopt a dog out to this person? Like,
Yeah.
it's like when you're calling for a reference. Like,
nobody's gonna put down somebody. I think I've only, in the entire time that I've been doing this, I've only had one reference say, "Do not adopt a dog out to that person," and it was like her mother, and she already had like 4 dogs, or whatever. Like, she does not need another dog.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I don't put a whole lot of weight on that because I trust my gut more than I trust somebody I don't know.
100%.
So.
And I want to give a huge shout out to all of the Madrid area fosters for jumping in to find not 1 but 2 dogs that got away this week from foster homes. And you know, this shit happens and it sucks. It is what it is.
Yeah.
We do what we can to try to prevent it. And we can just continue to get better.
Man,
but
as soon as we raise the flag, all of the Oh My Dog folks are
they're on it.
And they are...
Yeah. And huge thanks to Johnny and Tracy. They are always...
They left a funeral and then went and looked for a dog. Like, come on.
Right.
They're
and
crazy.
They check the traps day and night. I mean, luckily they're on weird-ass schedules.
Yeah, they are on a weird schedule. But Johnny found the fat wiener in a tiny trap at midnight, you know, and then they brought him home.
Which he would have sat there for 6 hours. I mean, he would have been fine, but he would have sat there if it wouldn't have been for them.
Yeah.
He was safer in the trap than he was out of the trap. There's coyotes all over there.
For sure.
So
I cannot believe in all of those traps along that trail.
We didn't get a cat.
We didn't catch one cat because they were everywhere. I kept thinking, I saw the dog, and it was a stupid another cat.
Yeah.
And then raccoons, like none of the other things, like nothing else. Just one wiener dog in all of those traps. Crazy.
Yeah. So it really does take a team, and it takes a village to get all this done. You know, people come into these large intakes. Emily, her first go round.
Yeah.
Mom on therapy patrol, and
yeah, Emily's hooked now. By the way.
Like, I'm sure.
Yeah, she's telling the whole world. She's like, "Do you have business cards? I really have a lot to say about this rescue, and everyone's listening to me."
Which, speaking of, we do have new merch coming out soon, right?
Yes,
I have designed a cute little thing.
Yes. So you hear us at the end of every episode say, We'll figure it out. And so we decided that that's really been our mantra, not only in rescue but in life. You know, you can't spend too much time worrying about what situation you're in. Eventually, you just gotta go with the flow and figure it out.
Yeah.
So that's been, I think, a big part of why Oh My Dog has been so successful, because we don't stew too much. We just go to work.
Yep.
And so we do have some fall merch that I need to go review and officially get up for sale, but we approved the design that says "We'll figure it out," and it's got our logo. It's pretty cute.
Love it. Yeah, you know, it's bled into my personal life too. When I've got big goals and big dreams, and you're not sure where to start, and what do you do next, and you're just like, I'll figure it out.
Yep.
And and that's how people get shit done.
It's true. But for me, I think, I've always had kind of a que sera attitude. Like, it's going to be fine, no big deal. But in doing this rescue, the ability to lean on the fact that it's we'll figure it out.
Exactly.
Has been huge. And
we've talked about that before, about what we at OMD do differently than other rescues that we see or that we've been a part of or that we interact with. And, more often than not, it's usually a one-woman show.
Yeah.
And
so it's one crazy dog lady that's like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, and she's probably doing a phenomenal job, but it's just so much for one person.
You have to be able to wave the flag some days and say, hey, I need a backup, or just have someone to, like, call after the bat phone rings. It's a moral support. And,
like, I know that you've got my back.
Yeah.
And I know that the Mafia has our back.
Right.
We're not going to fail.
No.
It has never even crossed my mind.
Nope.
It's not a worry of mine at all.
I've thought a lot about a vacation, but failure, no.
Maybe we need to do an OMD vacay.
Well,
like we could we just like book out an entire cruise ship.
Actually, remember we talked about doing that
the
thing?
volunteer thing.
So people have been asking me about it.
Really?
And they're like, yes. And they said, could we go? And I was like, I mean.
Oh, God, wouldn't that be fun?
Sure. So I thought, if we plan this far enough in advance and we set the dates and we figure out, like, how many people could, like, potentially be helpful in this, like, volunteer trip/vacation thing, let's go.
Yeah,
and you would just offer it up.
Which, Kara and I haven't talked about it. We haven't fleshed it out, really, but we did get contacted by a rescue out of Mexico.
We were supposed to talk about that today.
We were supposed to. We didn't get to that. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, this lady in Mexico wants to send us, like, 20 or 30 dogs. I don't know. But so I got the message, and this lady just gave me the high level, 30,000-foot sales pitch and a couple pictures of some dogs. And
they've done this before.
It's like a big ass bus,
it's like a tour bus,
like a dart bus.
Yeah,
the big one, the big long one. And so I sent it to Kara. She's like, real Chihuahua, like real Mexican Chihuahuas.
Authentic Mexican
I'm like,
Chihuahuas.
Authentic, 100%. So we're gonna think about it. We haven't done anything like this before.
Yeah, there's so much to do here that I'm a little bit on the edge. But also, I know that the dog population in Mexico does not have as many people advocating for it as ours does here in the United States. So there's dogs that need help everywhere, and that's a pretty big chunk. And they bring them all the way. They bring them vetted.
They're vetted. They deliver them, and it's just finding homes for them.
We just show up with a 6-pack and a pound and say, welcome, guys.
So I was telling Mom and Dad about this last night at bowling, and I was like, we're going to have to add to the application, like, are you bilingual? Because
we've gotten dogs before that don't speak English. These guys,
serious.
They're not going to. Oh, I'll have to dig into my archives. I do have, 7 years of Spanish education. I should be able to come up with some dog language. Yeah.
So, anyway. Well, this has been kind of a mishmash episode, but we're happy to be here nonetheless. And we're happy you guys are all here with us.
And we're still having fun.
We're always having fun.
That's right.
Either way, we'll figure it out.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll figure it out.
Oh my dog.
What I mean when I see, what I see, what I feel, when I dream, when I be, I'm a freak. What up? Oh, what up? Everybody look at me when I'm free, when I feel, what I see, when I do it, I'm a freak. What up? Oh, what up? Say what we got, it's hot to spot, give up the drop, see what we got, do what, we got to go, the body flow, too hot to show, the front row, we won't stop.